Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm your host, Jeffrey, and subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now, in the ACC on Saturday, there's a game between the Duke Blue Devils traveling on the road at the Miami Hurricane. Who do I think is going to win this game? Let's break it down. Now, Duke is 4-3 to start this season with Mike Elko in his first season as head coach, and Duke has completely outperformed expectations, and they've been playing really good football. To start the season, they beat Temple 30-0, and that was a good win. Then they won at Northwestern 31-23. That win looked better at the beginning of the season, but it was still a good road win, even though Northwestern has been struggling this season. Duke beat North Carolina A&T 49-20. That was a good win. And then they lost at Kansas 35-27. And obviously Kansas is a much better football team this year, so it's not a bad loss. Then they beat Virginia 38-17. That was a good win because Virginia's really struggling. But in their last 2 weeks, they've had two heartbreaking losses. Duke lost to Georgia Tech on the road in overtime 23-20. And then they lost to UNC, their rivals, 38-35 at home in a game they easily could have won, but North Carolina went down the field and scored at the end. And in that North Carolina game, quarterback Riley Leonard had 245 yards, a touchdown, and interception, and he had 130 rushing yards and a touchdown. He is the true definition of a dual threat, and he is a really, really good quarterback. And if he continues to play at a high level, it'll only bode well for Duke in the future. Running back Jordan Waters at 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. And running back Jaquez Moore at 36 yards and a touchdown. Duke's got good running backs and that's helping Duke out a lot in the running game. Wide receiver Jalen Calhoun at 55 yards and wide receiver Eli Pankel at 51 yards. Both are really talented receivers for Duke. And Duke has a much better team overall than they did last year. And on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker Shaka Hayward at 7 tackles. He's a fantastic player. He's probably going to be in the NFL. Defensive tackle Dwayne Carter at 3 tackles, and defensive back Darius Joyner at 6 tackles for Duke against North Carolina. Duke's defense at times can be a little porous, but at times they can be really good, and their offense has definitely improved from what it was before last year. And on the Miami side, Mario Cristobal is also in his first season as head coach at his alma mater at Miami, and they are only 3-3 to start this season, so Miami has definitely underachieved what people thought they were going to do. They started out well this season with a 70-13 win over Bethune-Cookman, and then they followed that up with a 30-7 win over Southern Miss. But then they lost at Texas A&M 17-9 in a game that their offense couldn't get anything going. And then they lost to Middle Tennessee State 45-31, and that was their worst loss of the season. This was a game that Miami definitely should have won at home as well. Then they lost to North Carolina 27-24 at home. And this was a game that they almost had, but North Carolina scored one more touchdown at the end again. Miami definitely has been at times a decent team, but they've also struggled as well. Then they won at Virginia Tech 20-14. This was a really important win, so Miami would not fall to 2-4. That was a good road win, even though Virginia Tech is a struggling team. And in that Virginia Tech game, quarterback Tyler Van Dyke at 351 yards and 2 touchdowns and 13 rushing yards. He doesn't run the ball much, but his arm is fantastic, and he's also got talented receivers to get the ball to. Running back Jalen Knight at 27 yards on the ground. Miami does need to run the football a little bit better. Their running game is struggling this season, but again, the passing game makes up for it. Wide receiver Colby Young at 110 yards and a touchdown. He's a very talented wide receiver and one of the top targets for Tyler Van Dyke. Wide receiver Bashard Smith at 76 yards against Virginia Tech. Tight end Will Mallory had 62 yards against Virginia Tech. He is an NFL tight end. He's a fantastic player, and he is definitely one of the best players on the whole Miami team. Wide receiver Frank Lasman Jr., 58 yards and a touchdown. The whole receiving core for Miami is talented and deep. Safety James Williams on defense at 5 tackles, and linebacker Corey Fly Jr., 4 tackles for Miami against Virginia Tech. Miami's defense outside of the Middle Tennessee State game has been actually pretty good this season. I just don't think they really played too hard in that game, but they've played well the rest of the season. And I think Miami's defense is going to continue to help them win games in the future, especially since Miami is not a dual threat offense. Their passing game is really good, but their running game is struggling. Now, who do I think is going to win this game? Now, obviously, Duke is the upstart team here. Duke, obviously, is a lot better than people thought coming into the season. Mike Elko has done a fantastic job, and I think Duke has a really talented offense, and their defense is improving. But I think Miami is more talent overall, and I think that Mario Cristobal, he struggled at first in his first season at Miami, but he is slowly trying to build something, and Miami has tons of talent, especially on offense, but their defense is playing well. When they play hard, their defense is really good. I think Miami's offense is going to be able to score more points than Duke, and I think Miami's defense is going to be able to stop Duke's offense just enough, and I got Miami winning 28-24 over Duke. Duke can win this game, but this game is also at Miami, and the home field advantage is going to be just enough for Miami to win this game. I think Duke is a really talented team, and they're playing good football, and I think under Mike Elko they've got much better things to come, but I think Miami has just too much talent for Duke. I think Miami's going to show up to play in this game, and Mario Cristobal is going to have his Miami team beat Mike Elko's Duke team 28-24. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below whether you think Duke or Miami is going to win this game and why, and I will see you next time.